You weren't taught emotional control. You were taught emotional censorship. A quiet training program that started early, so early you don't even remember the first lesson. It happened in tone, in expressions, in what was welcomed and what was punished. When you were easy, you were loved. When you were calm, you were praised. When you were positive, you were rewarded. But when you were angry, you were corrected. When you were deeply sad, you were rushed. When you cried too long, you were made to feel like you were doing something wrong. And over time, you absorbed a rule that most people never question. Some emotions make you acceptable, others make you a problem. So you learn to edit yourself, to delete the parts of you that didn't fit the room you were in, to smile when your stomach was tight with dread, to say, "I'm fine," even when you were quietly unraveling inside. And you called it strength. But answer this, honestly. How much of your life has been spent managing your inner world like it's a threat? How much energy do you waste trying not to feel what you feel? How many conversations did you avoid because you might get emotional? How many nights did you numb yourself, scrolling, binging, keeping busy, just to escape a feeling that wouldn't leave? Here's the part no one tells you when they teach you to stay strong. If you turn your emotions into enemies, you create a war you can't win. Because emotions aren't invaders. They're not glitches. They're not proof that something is wrong with you. They're signals, messengers, data. And when you try to silence them, they don't disappear. They go underground. They change shape. They come back later, louder. As sudden rage that doesn't match the moment. As anxiety that wakes you at 3 a.m. like an alarm you can't shut off. As sadness that follows you like a shadow the second life gets quiet. You are not broken. You're exhausted. Because you've been running from half of your humanity. And what if the transformation you want isn't feeling better? What if it's something deeper? What if freedom is the ability to feel everything without being ruled by it? That is the doorway into what Harvard psychologist Susan David calls emotional agility, a science-based skill of meeting your inner experience with honesty, compassion, and choice. Not denial, not suppression, not pretending. Choice. And in this video, we're not building a perfect mindset. We're building something far more powerful. A relationship with your inner life that doesn't require violence. No more war. No more fake calm. No more performing okay. Just reality, held wisely. Part 1. The lie about strength. There's a subtle lie many of us inherited, that strength means not feeling, that being mature means being emotionally clean, polished, controlled. But let's get specific. Most people don't actually control their emotions. They suppress them. They clamp down on expression. They swallow the truth. They tense the jaw. They force the smile. And research on emotion regulation has repeatedly shown suppression is not the same as resolution. In experimental studies, when people are told to hide what they feel, their bodies often show increased physiological strain, like the nervous system is still running the emotion, only now it's running it silently. So the face looks calm, but the inside is working overtime. And that overtime adds up, mentally, socially, physically. When you suppress regularly, you're doing something very expensive. You're paying energy to pretend you're okay. And a lot of people confuse that cost with discipline. But discipline that breaks you isn't discipline. It's self-abandonment. Here's what this looks like in real life. You don't say what needs to be said because conflict makes you anxious. You don't set boundaries because anger feels unsafe. You don't grieve properly because sadness feels weak. So you keep the peace. But inside, you accumulate pressure. And eventually, pressure demands a release. That's why the calmest person in the room sometimes explodes over something small. It's not small, it's stored. Part 2. Why suppression backfires. There's a reason suppression often backfires. Your brain is not designed to erase emotion on command. In fact, one of the most famous findings in psychology comes from thought suppression research. Try not to think of something, and the mind tends to bring it back even more. The don't think about it strategy is a trap, and the body has a similar logic with feelings. What you resist persists. What you fight gains power. Not because emotions are monsters, but because emotions carry information, and the mind treats ignored information as unfinished business. So it returns, again and again, until you finally listen, or you collapse. Avoidance is seductive because it gives relief now. But avoidance also does something else. It shrinks your life. If you avoid rejection, you stop reaching out. If you avoid conflict, you stop being honest. If you avoid anxiety, you stop taking chances. If you avoid grief, you stop loving deeply. Your world becomes smaller, not because life is small, but because your tolerance for feeling became small. You end up living inside an emotional bunker, safe from discomfort, but also separated from meaning. And the wild part is, you can spend years calling this coping, but the body keeps the receipts. Mental fatigue, brain fog, irritability, numbness. That strange feeling of being present but not alive. This isn't weakness. This is the cost of constant inner suppression. Part 3. The tyranny of positivity. Now zoom out, because your struggle with emotions isn't only personal, it's cultural. Susan David calls one part of this problem the tyranny of positivity. The idea that you should always be upbeat, always grateful, always okay. And if you're not, you are failing. You've seen it. Don't be negative, just be grateful. Good vibes only. Others have it worse. Sometimes it comes from coworkers, sometimes from family, sometimes from social media. But the most damaging version is the one that lives inside you. That voice that says, you shouldn't feel this. Get over it. Stop being dramatic. Be stronger. Here's what research has revealed in different ways. When people feel pressure to be happy and pressure not to feel negative emotions, well-being tends to drop, not rise. Because the more you treat sadness, anxiety, or anger as unacceptable, the more you add a second layer of pain. Not just, I feel bad, but I'm wrong for feeling bad. That second layer is what traps people. It turns emotion into shame, into self-attack, into isolation. And isolated emotions don't soften, they harden. Part 4. The shift that changes everything. So what do? Do we indulge every feeling? No. Emotional agility is not emotional chaos. It's not letting anger drive the car. It's not surrendering to anxiety as if it's prophecy. It's not drowning in grief until you disappear. Emotional agility is the third path. Not suppression, not impulsivity, but presence, with choice. Susan David offers a simple but profound frame. Your emotions are information, not instructions. They are data, not directives. Meaning, anger may be telling you a boundary was crossed. Sadness may be signaling loss and your need to process it. Anxiety may be pointing to uncertainty around something that matters to you. Envy may be revealing a desire you're afraid to admit. Guilt may be signaling misalignment with your values. Every emotion has a message, but none of them are a command. The question is not, how do I delete this? The question is, what is this here to show me? And what kind of person do I choose to be next? That, right there, is freedom. Because when you stop demonizing your inner world, you can finally learn from it. And when you stop trying to be emotionally perfect, you become conscious. Part 5. The 4 moves of emotional agility. Let's turn this into something you can actually practice. Emotional agility can be understood through 4 moves, not as a rigid system, but as a rhythm, a way to meet your feelings without being consumed. Move 1. Show up. This means you stop running. You turn toward what's true, even if it's uncomfortable, and you name it. Not vaguely, not, "I'm fine," not, "I'm stressed," but precisely, because precision gives you power. There's strong evidence in effective neuroscience that labeling emotions, putting feelings into words, can reduce emotional reactivity. Not because words are magic, but because naming recruits brain networks involved in regulation and meaning-making. But don't turn this into a performance either. This is not positive labeling. This is honest labeling. Try this. Right now, I notice, and finish the sentence with accuracy. I notice disappointment. I notice resentment. I notice shame. I notice grief. I notice fear. If you can't find the right word, start with the closest. Your goal is not poetry. Your goal is contact. And here's a Neuromystique truth. Most people don't suffer because they feel too much. They suffer because they reject what they feel, then wonder why it returns. Move 2. Step out. Now we create space. You are not the emotion. You are the one experiencing the emotion. There's a massive psychological difference between "I am anxious" and "I am noticing anxiety." One is identity, the other is observation. This is sometimes called diffusion, separating yourself from thoughts and feelings so they don't define you. You're not a jealous person. You're experiencing jealousy. You're not a broken person. You're having a moment of pain. This simple shift creates distance, and distance creates choice. Move 3. Walk your why. Now that you're not drowning, you can ask the most important question. What matters here? Not what feels urgent, not what feels scary, not what will reduce discomfort fastest. What matters? Because values are the compass in emotional storms. Example: you feel anxiety before speaking up. Anxiety says, hide. But your value might be truth, growth, courage, contribution. So you carry the anxiety with you, and you speak anyway. That is not suppression. That is leadership, inside your own life. This is the core of psychological flexibility, moving toward what matters even while discomfort exists. Move 4. Move on with tiny tweaks. Moving on does not mean forget it. It means you take action that aligns with your values, often through small, doable steps. Not dramatic reinvention, not overnight transformation. Small moves that reshape your identity over time. Tiny tweaks. One honest conversation. One boundary. One walk instead of spiraling. One moment of self-respect. Because change rarely happens as a single revolution. It happens through repetition. Through the nervous system learning, I can feel this and still live. Part 6. Real-life application. Let's make this real. Scenario: you're angry. Old you. Anger is bad. Calm down. Don't be like that. Result: you swallow it, and it leaks out as sarcasm, coldness, passive aggression. Emotionally agile you. Show up. I'm angry. Step out. I'm noticing anger. This is information. Walk your why. I value respect and honesty. Move on. I'm going to communicate a boundary without attacking. Anger becomes guidance, not destruction. Scenario: you're anxious. Old you. I need to stop this feeling. Result: you avoid the thing, postpone, overthink, spiral. Emotionally agile you. Show up. I'm anxious. Step out. I'm noticing anxiety, not becoming it. Walk your why. I value growth. Move on. I take the smallest next step. Send the email, practice once, enter the room. Anxiety becomes a sign you care, not proof you're unsafe. Scenario: you're grieving. Old you. Be strong, don't cry, keep going. Result: numbness, delayed grief, sudden breakdowns. Emotionally agile you. Show up. This hurts. Step out. Pain is here, and I can breathe with it. Walk your why. I value love and remembering. Move on. I let myself mourn. I reach out. I honor what was lost. Grief becomes a form of devotion, not a defect. Part 7. The practices that make this stick. Here are a few practices that are simple enough to do and strong enough to change you. Practice the 90-second myth, reframed. You may hear people claim emotions last 90 seconds. Reality is more complex. Emotions can last longer and vary wildly. But here's what's useful. A feeling is like a wave. It rises, it crests, it falls, especially when you stop feeding it with the same loop of thoughts. Your job isn't to finish the emotion quickly. Your job is to stop turning it into a lifelong sentence. Practice the 3-line check-in. Write: 1. Right now I feel. 2. It makes sense because. 3. A values-based next step is. This trains your brain to turn emotion into clarity. Practice self-compassion under pressure. When you notice yourself spiraling, try, "This is hard. I'm not alone in being human. May I be kind to myself in this moment?" It sounds soft, but research consistently links self-compassion to better mental health outcomes and to less shame-driven coping. This is not weakness. This is nervous system repair. The end of the war. The moment you stop fighting your inner world. You don't become emotionless. You become free. Because you're no longer wasting your life force on internal censorship. You stop performing strong, and you start becoming whole. You stop trying to be permanently happy, and you start becoming deeply real. And that reality, messy, human, alive, is where meaning begins. So here's the closing question. What emotion have you been avoiding? And what message has it been trying to deliver all along? If this hit something inside you, stay close. Subscribe to Neuromystique, because the next video goes deeper into the black and gold truth nobody teaches us. That the self you're trying to fix might actually be the self you're meant to understand.